This is working. Yeah, do that. We just mentioned a few interesting halachot and maybe a little topic. We'll speak for a little bit. Somebody once gave me this book. Somebody once gave me this book. In Yeshiva, somebody randomly just said he had this book. He doesn't know how to read Hebrew. He gave it to me. It's a book on Shalom bayit. Peace at home, yeah. Shalom bayit, peace at home. So I was curious. I opened it up on Shabbat and I was reading it. It rather looked very interesting. So I figured, you know what? I know the last time we gave a Shalom bayit shir over here, a lot of people online liked it. People were commenting that they thought it was important and they really liked it. So I found something over here. We'll just read through it a little bit as a little advice for all of us. And then we'll go through some halachot from the Ben Ish Chai. The Torah tells us that what? That a person, the first year of marriage is a special time. It's a special year. It's not like every other ordinary year. Person gets married, the first year a person gets married, it's a special time for him to develop that relationship and that connection with that connection with his wife. And therefore he has an obligation, especially in the first year, to keep his wife happy the whole entire year. The whole entire life. But this is the foundation of how to build it for their whole life. Right? And he brings that this is an obligation. Right? This is an obligation that a person should be very careful to develop that important relationship with his wife that first year. Right? And he says over here, it doesn't make a difference. Whatever makes her happy. Taking her out, speaking nicely, buying her stuff, spending time at home, listening, speaking. You know, like you go out on dates and it's all extravagant, and then after you get married, you get used to each other, you start taking things for granted. That's just the way life is. That's just the way people are. People take everything for granted. Right? Anything you take, you buy it, you take a house, you built it, right? It looks very nice, it's pretty, you enjoy it. After a few years, you get used to it, you stop paying attention to everything you once paid attention to. Right? Those fancy lights you put up, you don't even realize they're there anymore. It's the same thing with humans and everything in life. But, okay, house is one thing. But Shalom bayit is very important because that's the foundation and the connection between two neshamot of a husband and a wife that come together, that are here together to perfect each other. You and your wife are here to perfect each other and to raise children, right? The Rav Yaakov says that if parents don't respect each other, children won't respect their parents. Why? Because when children see that parents respect each other, they respect their parents. But if their parents don't respect each other, Rav Yaakov writes that the children won't respect them either. Right? So understand, the concept of Shalom bayit is very important, not only for raising children, but also to developing yourself. He brings later on, I read, that he says a lot of times, a lot of people that came to him for problems with Shalom bayit, he realized that a lot of the things that people complain about and make fusses about and make problems about are very easy to solve. If people would just be a little patient, people would be a little kalichom, like they call it, put their heads down a little bit, people would just know how to stay quiet, don't have to reply to everything, you don't have to answer to everything. You just understand to be patient, to be smart, to be above the situation. And he said people would fix so many problems, so many of their problems. But he said, what? They're stubborn, selfish, ego, right? Nobody wants to give in. Everybody wants to be the one, right? But he says that's the root of the sickness of houses falling apart, right? And a lot of times when houses fall apart, who pays the consequence? The children a lot of times pay the consequences, right? Children that come from broken homes a lot of times are not emotionally, fully healthy, because they're very broken their whole lives. They're very mixed, and here, there, right? So therefore, if that would ever happen, a person would have to be careful that the kid shouldn't be as affected by it, to try to keep a proper balance, right? But what happens is that it brings over here that a person has an obligation to make sure that his spouse is always happy, right? And he says, how does a person make his wife happy? He says you should know that the nature of a woman is that she wants to feel like she's always loved and appreciated in her husband's eyes. She always looks forward to her husband for that appreciation, for that want, for that desire. If she feels like she's not important in her husband's eyes, then everything else doesn't make a difference. She'll start complaining about everything. She'll complain about this, complain about that, that's hard, this is difficult. Everything becomes a balagan. Why? It's really all one issue. that she doesn't feel important in her husband's eyes. We don't realize how important that is. When a girl feels when a woman feels appreciated and loved by her husband, and she feels like she's the number one thing to her husband, you could call her like she becomes like invincible, like Superwoman. They feel very very complete. They feel very whole, and therefore he says over here that the main thing of a woman, this type of Rebbe lights, is that her husband should love her and she should feel that her husband loves her. That's like the main thing for her in life. Yeah, it's very important to know. And therefore, a person should be careful to show his wife a lot of love and attention, to speak to her a lot, right? Take her out, so on and so forth, to establish that foundation within the first year. To build that, like it says, Vayu lebasar echad. Now this is not only for men, this is also for ladies. That women also need to be very careful to be able to build this proper relationship and to understand that women and men are very different, right? And it says also like laughter, jokes, to keep the relationship going on, to keep the relationship strong, right? And even within the relationship of a person, of a spouse and a husband and wife, this is also avodat Hashem. This is also a form of serving Hashem, to be able to keep a holy relationship with each other, in order to keep that Shalom bayit at home, in order to bring that peace and tranquility at home. And this is one of the most important things in Judaism. We see that the Torah says that a person is even allowed to erase Hashem's name in order to make shalom between a husband and wife. Right? Shalom bayit is above all. We find in the Torah that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he came to Sarah and Avraham and Sarah, when he told Sarah that she's gonna have a baby, she laughed. She said, "No, her husband's an old man. Now she's gonna have a baby." But when Hashem went to tell Avraham, he didn't tell Avraham that Sarah said you're an old man. She said she's an old lady. So you see, Kadosh Baruch Hu even switched from what Sarah said in order just to make sure that they have Shalom bayit between them, not to affect the harmony. So the Dafka, the Torah tells us that, to teach us this idea of how important it is to keep Shalom bayit at home, that even Kadosh Baruch Hu had like a play on words in the Torah in order to keep that harmony between them. But unfortunately, we find that it's not always like that. Everybody wants to come home, everybody wants things their way. Right, the husband comes home, the wife comes home, and like Saddam Hussein, whatever it is, that are very demanding, very demanding, very overpowering, very aggressive, right? This is a no-no. That's already the beginning of the destruction of what's going to happen. There are certain things that like Shlomo Melech says, before you said something, you're in charge. Once you say something, your words are in charge of you. Right? Sometimes you say something, you can't take it back, and it's going to work against you. Therefore, it's very important to know at home. Also, one of the main things is to be careful what you're saying. One of the main things is to be careful what you say, to be careful what comes out of your mouth. Why? Because you might say something now, you might be a little bit frustrated, but you don't realize when things fix it, when the situation comes down, how much what you said is going to work against you. Women are not like men. Men, you tell them something today, the next day they forget. Women, they're going to remember this for the next 20 years. That you're going to come to argue in 5 years. They're going to remind you of something you did 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Why? By them it doesn't go away. It stays within them. Because by them it's very serious, it's very sensitive. When you say something to them, they take it very, very seriously and they get very offended by it. Therefore it's important, when people want to build a tranquil, peaceful home, to be careful what you say, to be careful how you speak, and not to react quickly, and to be very patient. It's not just something I read over there and during Shabbat. I want to speak about halachot, right? Parashat Masei, right? This halachot are also pertaining, right? This halachot are also pertaining to this month, where we find a lot of goyim that they do different types of things, with their holidays and so on and so forth, right? Now, we're going to speak about things which are related to avodah zarah, idol worship. Right, things which would be asur, things which would be mutar. I know that Christians in halakha are considered of the avodah zarah, idol worshippers. They have a din of the avodah zarah. They worship idols. They believe in Trinity. They believe in a man-made God, and they do all these different services and ceremonies. Right? It says, what about the images that people wear, the crosses that people wear on their necks and stuff like that? Right? Does that have a din of avodah zarah? Are you allowed to sell it? Right? Are you allowed to touch it? Right? Does it have a din of avodah zarah? Because that's the question. Because if it's avodah zarah, you can't. Anything that's avodah zarah, you can't have any hana'ah from it. You can't have any benefit from it. You can't do anything for it whatsoever. What?
You sell it, but you don't wear it. You cannot sell it.
So the question is, The question is if it's avodah zarah or it's not avodah zarah. If it's really avodah zarah, you cannot sell it. If it's not avodah zarah, you could sell it. He says these crosses are not really avodah zarah. Well, what are they? He says they're just like right. It's like lizakaron. I don't know how to say this in English. Just like a jewelry, like an item, just a reminder of something. But nobody actually serves these things. Nobody actually uses these crosses to serve it, to bow down to it. It's not served as a form of avodah zarah. Nobody bows down to it. If people would bow down to it and serve it in the way that it's meant to be served, bowing to it and stuff like that, and serving it as an avodah zarah, that would for sure be asr. But here people just wear it as a jewelry, as something as zikaron. However, it says the ones that the actual priests wear on their clothing around their neck, that you should stay away from. Because they were a little bit more concerned that they take it off, they'll serve it, they bow to it, they kiss it, they use it more of an avodah zarah, not only as a charm. Right? So there, the ones that the priests wear, those should be machmer and to aser. But to go ahead and to sell it, right, in a store, in a jewelry store, whatever it might be, it's hard to say it's asur. Really, it's mutar. But even though it's mutar, I once came to Rav Belsky and I showed him glasses that they make with these little things on the side that look like a cross. That was the reason why I showed it to him. Right? And I asked him, is such glasses permissible to sell or not? He told me, better not. Right? Don't dilute it at all. Even though halachically it would be okay, but it's mukhara davar. It's not the proper thing for a person to sell. Is it asur? I can't tell you it's asur. Right? If that's where a person makes his money from, I can't tell you it's asur. But lamaasen, it's better not. If you could avoid, better not to sell it. Right? It's also, if a person is a mitzvah that a person sees avodah zarah, he could break it. Right? It's a mitzvah to break avodah zarah. So if a person sees an idol that people are bowing to, say a person is a certain country, they're bowing to this idol, as a mitzvah to break it. I don't recommend that you should break it because if they catch you, you're going to be in very big trouble, right? But if you would have a situation where you would be able to take it and break it, there would be a mitzvah to actually take it and break it, right? This avodah zarah that a person would find. I can break it into pieces, throw it into the water. You have to mamish completely, right? Destroy it all the way, right? Now, it's also for a Jew to wear any clothing that has a cross engraved in it, right? The cross engraved in it, right? Meaning to say, if it's stitched in, it sticks out. It's called bolet. Bolet means that something that's woven into your clothing, it sticks out, right? So when you have something woven into your clothing, it sticks out. So if you have a clothing that has a cross on it, it would be also to wear. It would be also to wear because it's sticking out, right? So I think there are companies that their logo is a cross. I think there are companies that their logo has a cross, right? As you can see that it's a cross. So there would be a problem. I remember one time somebody gave me a wallet as a gift, and inside the wallet, the company, I forgot which company it was. Well, it's red. It's a red thing. I don't know if it's True Religion, it's something else maybe, right? It's a red thing. So I looked at it and I saw this was a cross, right? And it's like a little thing like this, and it's inside the wallet and it sticks out. Right, so I didn't feel comfortable. I took this thing out, I ripped it out. Right, I ripped it out and threw it in the garbage. Used the wallet anyways. Right, that's the only problem, right? And I took it, I ripped it out, and I threw it out, and I used the wallet anyways. Right? However, if it has like a cross somewhere inside, as stuck to it, within it, and it's not bulging out, it's like stuck within it. Like if you would feel it, it would be just the same, like just the way you feel the material. It's within, it's not sticking out. That would be less severe, right? It would be permissible to wear such a thing, to have such a thing, right? Say if a person would have a clothing, and inside the clothing there's 10 tags in there. Every single tag tells you something else. And within the tags there's like a little cross there, right? For whatever reason. But it's in the tag, it's not bulging out, right? So you could do is just cut off that tag and throw it out if it bothers you. You shouldn't have it, right? But we're talking about halakha. What is mutar, not mutar, right? That's what I said. Right? So therefore, it would be usher also to make images of a cross in a person's doors, in a person's furniture, to throw a person's bricks outside when a person's building a house. Only cross. You would not be able to make any of those images. So if you have a door, right, and it has like a design of a cross on it, it would be asur. Right? It would be asur. Even though it's within the design of the door, it would be asur. Anything like that would be asur to have a cross on it. But this is only talking about if you have like a mamish cross. But if you have a cross within an image, and within that image it like goes, meaning to say, if I have a door that has a whole image to it, right? And within that image somewhere there's a cross, but it's not like a cross in of itself. The legs extend, the hands extend, it plays around somewhere. Even though if I was focused in the middle, I could see a cross, it's not a problem. It's only when the cross is standing in of itself separately, right? Then it would be a problem, right?
What if I wanted to vote, and where I'm supposed to go vote? Now it's changed, but before it was in the church. Can I go to a church?
Can't go inside of a church. Not allowed to walk inside of a church.
I did it once. I got us, and I did it once to sell crosses with the soil of Jerusalem inside. I worked one day. I got so many problems. I even got cut with a knife. And it's like different dates. From that day, you say cut off, I say throw out. Don't cut off, throw out the clothes or shoot.
Yeah, you should stay away from it. That's Rabbi Elspeth Machman, stay away from it. There's a story that this one girl, she was having a hard time sleeping at home. And she went to the Baba Sali a few times. The Baba Sali told her, you have Avodah Zarah at home. Think, what Avodah Zarah do we have at home? This is from Jewish home, I can have Avodah Zarah at home. And they looked through everything, they couldn't find. They had a newspaper at home that within the newspaper there was an image of a cross, which was Avodah Zarah, and they threw it out, and things got a little better. Like her soul, her neshama felt that there was something wrong at home. Neshama felt that there was something wrong at home.
Another question.
Yeah.
Back in the days, St. John's University, a big classroom with crosses.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you don't care about that. Nobody goes there to service. They just have whatever. They represent the religion that they believe in. But there's not a room of worship. There's no worship in that room happening. Right? There's no worship in the room. Somebody asked me also if they rent a hotel, right? And they have in India, and they have Buddhas in every single hotel room. So they have Buddhas in every single hotel room. So I'm not so sure if you're renting it, does the Buddha come with it? So therefore, is it considered like you have a Buddha in your own premises? I told him you can rent it, just cover it. Just take something and just cover it, and don't pay attention to it. Right? Just when you first rent the room, just think, you don't wanna have anything to do with this Buddha. You just go in there and you cover it, and that's it whatsoever. Right? Also, a person has to know that a person is not allowed to make an image of a person. Right? A person is not allowed to make an image of a person. So therefore, today they have 3D museums. You know what 3D museums are? You go there, they take you, and they create a doll that looks like you. You ever saw this before? And they make a human being that looks like you. Like with these 3D printers, whatever.
You cannot do that either?
That's asur. It's also to make an image of a human being, right? With its full fingers, hands, arms, everything. Wax museum, right? Those things would be asur to make images of human beings to its fine detail. You would not be able to do it. And not only that, you would not be able to keep something like that in your house. It would be asur to keep something like that in your house. The Torah says it's asur to make an image of a person that's whole, that's full. Right? One of the reasons they bring is that you have to be very careful what I'm telling you now. Is that we know that Hashem has no image. Right? Hashem is everywhere all the time. Hashem was everywhere, is everywhere, and always will be everywhere. Kadosh Baruch Hu created this whole entire world. The Zohar says, Leita tar panud minei. There's no place in the world that's free of Hashem. Kadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere at all times and sees everything at all times. Like that saying they say. Right? We say the Goyim, they serve a God that they could see but he can't see them. The Jews, we serve a God that we can't see but he could see us. They say such a statement, right? So when the prophets used to prophesy, and they used to have prophecy about future and about what's going to happen. The Jews, we had about 1.2 million prophets at a certain point in our history. But if you count all the prophets, we had about 1.2 million prophets. Prophecy was not just the prophets that we see in the Nevi'im that just gave over messages to the Jews. Right? Those were Nevi'im also. Right? There was a Nevi'im also, but there was prophets in every single city. And there were special schools for prophets. People would go and learn how to be prophets. Because people would see prophecies differently, and they would not be able to interpret what they saw. Now, in order for a person to be a prophet, he would need to be very holy, very righteous. He would need to be somebody that's above the natural, ordinary human being. So in order to be able to interpret these prophecies, they would really have to go to school and learn how to interpret these prophecies. So what happens is, in the prophecies itself, when they would see images, they would see images of a human being as well. Right? And so in order to keep us away from this false illusion, to think that these images that they're seeing is that God has some sort of a human form, the Torah came along and said it's asur for you to make any human form. Right? Any human form. Why? Because it's a form of avodah zarah to make a human form. And therefore, right, it would be asur to make a human form. Right? Fully. And therefore the poskim say, even if you have dolls or anything like that are full human form with fingers and toes and nose and everything, even there the poskim are their opinion that it's a big problem. And therefore some, what do? Some take this actual dolls, you see by the Hasidim, they take off an ear, they take off a little piece of the nose, they take off a toe, take off something like that, so they don't have a full image of a human being at home. Right? Rav Ovadia allows a full image of a human being only by dolls. Because he held by dolls, he brings different reasonings. One of the main reasonings is that that people treat him like garbage, they throw him around, and so on and so forth. However, not everybody would agree to that reasoning. It's better that a person should maybe take off a piece of it, right, in order that it should be whole. But even if it has one whole leg, that's also okay. It's only when they have full image of a person to every detail, which would be a problem. However, just the face itself is okay, right? Say a woman, what do they have? They have a face, right, that they put their sheitel on. Right, api halacha, that's okay. Even there are some that are machmir. However, the halacha is that it's mutar. If a person could avoid it, we find over there that even just by the face of an image, where it has ears and eyes and everything else, even there you find some people that are machmir, they cut off a little bit of the nose. It shouldn't be like a full image. You should remove partial of the actual image. Now, we'll do one more halacha, right? It's also to send your children to Goyish schools in order to teach them a profession, even where you don't have to be concerned of killing and murdering, because back in the day it was very dangerous to send Jewish kids to Goyim to learn, because they would kill them, right? If they would find a way, they would be able to kill them. But nowadays, Baruch Hashem, we don't have so much of this issue. However, there's a concern that what they're going to teach them api korasut. What happens today? They go to public schools, they go to Goy schools. What do they teach them? Api korasut, avodah zarah, niyuv. Today somebody told me that to teach same gender in school is popular. And if a person is not into same gender, he's considered something is wrong with him. It's very popular in the schools that you have to have the same, same gender, not to make any divisions between men and men and women and women, right? This is considered something very popular. And if a person creates a division, it's already something looked down upon. And it's all over there, the apikorsim, minut, right? All this horrible what they teach a kid. Also, you have to be concerned, same gender over here. I never know, one day he might get connected to such an idea, and he might like boys or she might like girls, barminan. And therefore it's asur to send children to those type of places, right? In any case, it's asur to send. Even people that go to colleges and universities try to stick to the more frum colleges, more to the frum universities. Sometimes people go to these non-frum or secular, right, universities and colleges, and they could also ruin their whole ideology of what a Jewish person is supposed to live like in his hashkafam, right? So we'll stop over here. Yeah, I can turn it off.